Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready?
Yep.
So the agenda tonight has been amended at the request of Mrs. Shelton. She requested to remove previous item 4G, Athletic Trainer Service Agreement, from the consent agenda. The item now appears as item 7F.
Gotcha.
Make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion. We need a second.
Second. Go ahead, Nancy.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on down to consent agenda that was reviewed by the board members prior to tonight's meeting. We need a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, audience delegations. Did we have any tonight?
I don't believe so. I didn't grab it. Last I looked, there was none.
Okay. And let's see here. Moving on to communications, federal and state programs, consolidated federal programs.
So that's just information, and I move those to communications just to inform you. This is approved through the budget process anyways, but it kind of tells you where the federal programs, where the revenue is. It's nothing we can do that can control that revenue. That's just what we're giving and given. So just another form of communication on that too. So.
Federal and state programs, 94 through 142, special education programs.
It's kind of the same deal from Annie. Kind of tells you where we're at. So.
National School Lunch Breakfast Program for free and reduced price meals.
Those are the updated eligibility guidelines from the National School Lunch. It's provided by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So, okay, just for your information. So.
Okay. And monthly information items. Got expenditure and revenue report.
It's your typical reports.
Okay.
I would like to say I was very impressed with the CCC pass percentage.
Yes.
That is awesome. Good job. Where is she? There you are. Good job. And that was also presented to our Rotary last week, and Han did a really good job of all that. And it was just really nice to hear all the different ratios and percentages that were so high compared to the state level, and it was very good.
Okay. Assessment and evaluation of district programs.
At the end of May, notable general fund property taxes are at $8.5 million. The debt service fund is $2.2 million. So we are at 100% on current revenues. But fell a little short on delinquent revenues, and that's prior year taxes. So estimated a little high there, but we still have another month. Not that we're going to see a lot coming in probably in June, but we are at 100% on our current revenues. The state formula still falls a little short of budget, but the other major revenue sources in Fund 2 have met budget projections. Year to date in tax collections are $244,000, almost $245,000 over prior year. And the prior period adjustments, $117,000 due to our insurance maximum refund and E-rate reimbursements. We do get from E-rate, we get quite a bit. We get a reimbursement on our fiber and on some of our networking projects that we do. That's about the only two things that E-rate covers any longer. We used to get monies back on cell phone and telephone monthly cost. They've done away with that. So primarily all we're seeing is now if we do infrastructure improvements and then the fiber we get reimbursement on, which is nice. So Expenditures, they mirror closely still the same period of last year. And total cash and investments are $11.7 million at the end of May.
Any questions on that? Thank you, Kathy. The professional development program.
Sorry. Okay, this is just a needs summary of where we were at the end of the school year for professional development. Professional development will be taken over by Christy for the upcoming school year. Talks a lot about BIST, which is something that we use to support our students, which will lead us into a little bit of our conversation in the CSIP about trauma-informed care with our students. Talked about the writing workshop that we've continued to develop, which will lead into our K through 5 writing curriculum resource through Lucy Calkins, and then of course the individual teacher needs and the building needs for the plan for just a generalized plan for 19 and 20. Talked about the reading and then trauma informed. I'll address that a little bit more later, and then individual and building needs that are incorporated in there too. So,
Any questions or comments on that? That is a great segue for the CSIP plan.
there we go. So CSIP this month, under district goals 3, provide effective ongoing professional development to improve student achievement. 5, implement a multi-tiered system of support for all students. And then 7, provide a safe and secure environment for all. So we've talked a lot about trauma-informed care for all of our students. We took a team to the Kaufman Conference Center for training through Truman Medical Center about trauma, what the definition of trauma is, self-care for those providing education to students facing trauma, and really, the definition of trauma is a broad-based thing. So it depends on different factors. It depends on coping skills of the individuals affected. There's an ACEs score, which is something that we hope to get to, where we can, identify our own needs personally before we help our students. And so it's just being aware of where students are coming from and maybe why they're making some of the decisions that they're making, and understanding that we need self-care for our educators in addition to, we are in the business of people. So we talk a lot about salary when it comes to taking care of our staff, but also there are other ways besides salary that we need to make sure not only we're taking care of our staff, but we're providing them resources so they can have self-care as well. So we care for them, and we want to help them too. So that's it.
Okay. It's really, I like the idea of the self-care, because I think the expectation a lot of times for people in education is you need to care for my kid.
Right.
So I like the idea of the self-care. That's actually very insightful.
Well, one of the first things that they did at the training was they showed a meme, I guess, of a flight attendant, where they tell you when you get on the airplane, take care of yourself before you take care of your child if you're traveling with a small child. And it's kind of that same concept. You need to take care of yourself before you're able to take care of others.
So is part of this trauma, because teachers see kids that have rough lives,
Right.
and they're going to take a piece of that home with them when
Right.
they go home. So as part of that, teaching teachers how to maybe deal with those feelings
Right.
and emotions.
Mhm.
I like that. That's good. All right, school board operating principles. We need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the 2019-2020 school board operating principles as presented.
Second.
So this is what we discussed at the retreat. The document creates the operating principles for the school district, which include the mission statement, parameters and beliefs established in the strategic planning process, as well as specific issues related to the board-superintendent relationship. They include promises made to each other, general guidelines for effective communications, and specific covenants for communication with various public and methods of addressing public concern presented to school board members. Do we have any comments or questions on what we discussed last month? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The 2019-20 lunch prices. We need a motion.
I move to set the, excuse me, to set the 2019-2020 meal prices as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second. I don't see where we're, never mind.
It's over on public content. So.
Oh, sorry.
That's
I was
fine.
down too far.
I'd like to talk a little bit about lunch prices. So we're recommending a 5% increase in student and adult prices, meal prices for next year. Just to refresh your memory a little bit, there's a lunch price equity tool that was established by the U.S. Department of Agriculture probably about, it seems like it's only been 2 years ago, but I'm getting older, so it's probably been about 8 years ago. And what that calculator tool does is it sets the rate, because it sets the rates at a certain level, and you have to basically increase 5 or 10 cents a year. Because if you don't, then what the federal government figured out is schools were subsidizing their full price meals with the free and reduced reimbursement, because you get reimbursed at that higher rate. And so they came in and said, you can't do that anymore. You need to increase your paid amount so that you're not subsidizing with the free and reduced money. So for the last, like I said, 8 years probably, we've used that calculator tool. Every school in the United States has used that calculator tool to tell you what your minimum price increase is. And so that varies. Instead of saying 2 cents or 3 cents, generally you round up to 5, and then some years you even have to go 10 cents, which I think was 10 cents last year. So just to give you a little reminder about why that increase exists. It's unfortunately we're told we have to do it by that calculator tool. So
What happens? I've wanted to ask this question for years, because we do this every year, at least for the last 8. But what happens if we don't? Do they not provide the free and reduced
no,
lunch?
they'll come in and fine you. I know of a school district that was fined, and they had to pay. It was on adult lunch. They had undercalculated on adult lunch, and they had to pay $600 back to the government.
Really? Nothing like being blackmailed by your own government.
And even though that we have the outside contractors for the food services, we still can set the prices.
Yeah, we do set the prices.
Okay. Because I remember they were saying that they weren't going to increase anything on us.
Well, that's not them that increases; it's us that we
Okay.
have to. Yeah, this is based on that lunch price equity tool. So, yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Strategic planning process. We'll need a motion. Yep. Sorry, I hadn't gotten that far yet.
I'll make the motion to approve the process for strategic planning as presented.
Second.
So, this lovely PDF that Jill Jill did is based on kind of just a rough sketch of what we would like to do for our strategic plan for this year. Our ultimate goal is to have a final plan for approval at the December board meeting. This is obviously identifying and approving the process, and then July and August we're going to form the committee. With your help, we've already started talking to some individuals. Ann Hickman is interning right now, and she's going to start working on internal candidates as well. So we'll have a good mix of internal and external candidates for the committee. Our goal is to, what I've been telling people is one meeting a month, an evening meeting that will hopefully last no longer than an hour and a half. So an hour to an hour and a half, that's what I've been telling everybody. So, and you can see the process there before you. We're excited about the process, and we think that it'll bring some good direction for our school district for the next 3 to 5 years. And it'll encompass finance as well as academics and other areas.
I appreciate the timeline on this. I mean, this is a lovely graph here. Jill did a good job. But, the minute I pulled it up, it was very clear. It's very concise. It's got a very good direction. So there's no guesswork for us. Yeah, so no, I like seeing the steps that we're planning on taking for it, too. So I like it very much.
It's realistic.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to F, Athletic Trainer Services Agreement. We need a motion. Is there really one in this?
I move to approve the athletic trainer services agreement as presented.
Second.
So a little background on the athletic trainer services. So we've had athletic trainer services with Cass Regional Medical Center the past 2 years. This past school year, things weren't great with the trainer. We provided some feedback through the athletic department, through the different coaches, and which eventually led to the resignation of their trainer. I know Brent Maxwell sat in with Dr. Hoffman on the interview process when they had candidates. They had 3 candidates originally. I talked to Dr. Hoffman a couple of times throughout this process. Eventually, he called me a couple of weeks ago and was concerned that they couldn't provide those services anymore. And so I said we want to continue a good relationship with Cass Regional Medical Center. I don't want to make them mad if we go somewhere else, but we need those services. And he said he understood and he was fine with us pursuing services elsewhere. So we contacted Belton and they were able to provide those services. I don't think they've located it. They did provide a trainer for the Michael Keck football camp, which we had several teams come in for, and they said they will have somebody in place in the fall for the athletic training services. So.
And Belton is who we used a couple of years ago, correct? Okay.
I just had a couple of questions. Is whoever the trainer is going to be, will it be the same person all the time coming to do whatever, or will they send different people?
It typically is the same person, but sometimes they need to provide additional, and sometimes that person can't be there and they provide a different person. So there is times when it might be somebody else. When we had Cass Regional, we only had one. So,
right. Now, do they do background checks on these people?
Yes, that's part of the deal.
Because I know it wasn't mentioned
Right.
in the contract, but I wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
part of it. Okay.
Anybody that we contract through, that's a law that they have to be background screened. So.
Well, it wasn't mentioned, so I didn't know. The other thing that concerned me was in paragraph 2.8, a right of first refusal. And I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly, because to me it looks, the way it reads, it seems like it's saying that they would have the right of first refusal. Let me find it. The right of first refusal for any other forms of athletic-related advertisements or sponsorships provided by other health-related organizations. Now, I'm not sure what exactly that sentence means, but it could be taken to mean that they would have the first right to advertise somewhere in our district. Is that what that's saying?
They're going to advertise.
Yeah, I know
just
they are.
where their signage.
Yeah, I got all that. But the way this reads, it would be any any other forms of related advertisements. Like it could be the scoreboard, it could be banners, it could be anything.
They don't. The scoreboards are already a contractual agreement, so they don't have any say over the scoreboards.
Right.
I mean, that's primarily addressed to. I mean, it is a compete clause, is what it is.
Right.
But it's a boilerplate contract. It's their understanding is they know that we have a partnership with Cass Regional, and so they're not going to press any of those issues.
But they're also getting other free advertising because of this contract, and so are we getting some sort of break in what we're paying them because they're getting advertising?
Well, it's my understanding the only advertising they're going to have shirts that say Belton Hospital on them, or they're going to have they might have a table that says that, but they're not going to.
No, it's more than that. We're supposed to post advertisements on our social media once a semester about all their stuff, all their hospital events, their emergency department, their services, their physicians. And if we're doing all that, I just want to make sure we're aware we're doing all that and that we are going to get some sort of recompense for doing all that.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I hadn't read that, so.
That's quite specific. And like you say, we want to continue our good relationship with our local hospital. I don't mind them wearing clothes saying who they worked for,
Right.
but this is a bit much to me. I'm just
So what are you recommending?
I just want to make sure we're aware we're going to do all this for them. If that's what we're agreeing to do, we'll have to do it. We'll need to do it. But the right of first refusal concerns me somewhat because it says for any other forms of athletic-related advertisements or sponsorships. I would want some clarification on that. That it's not going to limit other health-related organizations with advertising for sporting events or whatever events they want to do. It doesn't have to be sporting. That would be
So
my
maybe
concern.
the Cash Regional wants to sponsor
Yeah.
their logo on the back of a
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Or on an event or at a, and they're also hosting a booth at back-to-school teacher events, which, I don't know that needs to be in a contract. I don't care about that, but this right of first refusal, I would like to know how they understand that to be.
And then play it down. So Cass Regional wants to sponsor this, and Belton Regional says, nope, we don't want them to because that's their
Yeah,
first
that's
right
what
of
I'm
refusal.
hoping. I'm hoping that's not what this sentence means,
Right.
but I'm not for sure what that sentence means. It means they
Would
get
we
to
allow
they
them
get
that-
to decide first if they want to sponsor whatever it is, and then I think another health organization could say, yeah, we want to do it if they don't want to do it. But I want to be able to have whoever wants to sponsor. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, because once we sign it, it's done.
So it's almost like we should take that part out and just say the content of any advertisements shall be agreed upon by the school and the hospital.
Yeah. I don't know why they would get first refusal for advertising. I don't understand that. And the whole promoting hospital events thing, I mean, that's up to us to decide if we want to do that. What, do you guys think that's fine? I mean, I don't know.
Well, so I mean, I can't answer this, but what was the advertising like when they had the contract before? Because it's the same
I don't know.
contract.
Yeah, I don't know, because I wasn't.
Right.
They had a banner in the gym. I know they did have banners in the gym that said Belton.
Did we do anything on social media? So it's almost like that doesn't even need to be in there. Then they can't hold us over the fire to do it, so just take it out.
Seems pretty specific.
I know, like on our concussion testing form, Cass
Right.
Regional's logo is on there currently. So I'm just trying to think of where.
But what about when we had Belton before?
I don't
We didn't do that. I mean, that was new. That's
Oh,
new.
okay.
I mean, I could see it being on something like that, but I don't want to limit anybody if they want to. You know.
Well, then we surely don't want Belton Regional telling us who our sponsors can be.
Well, who gets the first choice of whatever? It's like,
Well, they could say they don't want anybody else.
well, and I don't think that's what it means. It just means that they get the first, the first right to say put a banner at the stadium on the fence. They get the first choice of that.
Of athletic-related advertisement or sponsorships provided by other health-related organizations.
I mean, that could even be doctors' offices. I mean, if you think about it, it could limit a lot of local things. I'm just saying.
So, Paul and I were just talking about just take 2.8 out, take the whole paragraph out.
Oh, well, that's fine with me. I don't care for it my own self, but I thought maybe it was a contingency for them to do it or something.
Well, I don't know if they'll. I mean,
We can ask.
they'll just, yeah.
We can ask them for clarification.
We need this in place prior to
July 1.
July 1?
No, we won't
No?
need it in place till August. I mean,
there another-
they can provide services for camps, but we can pay a per diem fee. That's what we did for the Michael Keck camp. So.
So would it be reasonable to? Because I agree with your point, Nancy. I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but your point
It might not.
But your point is well taken, and so it seems to me the thing to do is to address 2.8 if it's a matter of just taking it out and everybody's comfortable with that and Belton is comfortable with that, that's good. But it makes sense for the purposes of tonight, to simply say let's remove it from the agenda, put it on the July agenda, and go back and rework that with Belton.
And there's some verbiage that they may want in there. I mean, they're wearing the clothing with the hospital logo,
Sure.
the forms having the hospital logo on it. And again, some of that we may want for a liability standpoint to
Sure.
show
No,
that we've had
of
a
course.
hospital do the concussion testing and all that. So taking it out, the whole thing out may not work, but maybe just
But even the very first sentence says we're going to allow them to place signage on the campus, not limited to athletic arenas. That, you know, where I don't know where else they would put signage.
Well, it does go on to say that the type and size
Would be
will
agreed upon, yeah.
by both
Yeah,
us
that would
and
be
them,
fine.
So.
That would be fine, and the whole logos on their clothes, that's fine
Yeah.
too. But the rest of it, I'm really not too comfortable with.
okay. We can,
Well, and I know it's the language of the contract, so
Right.
I can agree to that. They just copied the contract that was
Oh,
in
I'm sure they
existence
did.
before. So.
Yeah. Except they added in the social media stuff because you didn't do that before.
No, but the contract.
it
is
was in there.
was
They
in
just
the
didn't.
contract
It was in the
before.
contract,
Oh,
but
but
they
you
didn't
just
do
didn't do
anything.
it.
I think with Belton or with Red Tech, and they just copied it.
Oh.
Those schools were probably okay with that because that's their home.
Sure. Yeah, it would make
Yeah,
sense
makes
for
sense.
them.
Okay, so we'll look into rewording what we need to on that, and that'll be on the July.
We have a motion on the table. Does Mr. Bell want to reword his motion?
Point of order, would it make sense to just rescind the motion?
Yes, or you could change the motion to table the issue until the July board meeting.
Or somebody else could make the motion to table, right? It
We'd
doesn't
have to
be
go
me.
back to his
Yeah.
motion
Right,
unless
yeah.
he revises it.
We may be getting too deep in the minutia. I thought a table just was within the existing meeting.
Parking
I
it
w-
is in the.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters. We know what's happening.
Yeah. So, Susan, tell me what I should do.
It's a daily conversation in my office.
And, I'm perfectly good with
Well,
that.
there isn't a second.
Do
There's
every
no
morning.
was there a
Susan, what do I
second?
do today?
Yes, it was seconded. So I would say you need to,
Close it out and then
Just
yeah,
do it.
I would say
Let's vote on it.
revise your motion to
Can
say
you
to
withdraw the motion on the
table
table
the
and make
issue
a new
until
one?
the July board meeting,
Okay.
even though table may not be the
Yeah.
exact proper term. I can go
That's
look it
okay.
up if you want me.
No, I don't.
We
I
need to get
don't
our
care.
we need to get our Roberts rules out.
Right. So I will do that. I will revise my motion to table this issue, postpone this issue to the July board meeting. And I think that probably needs a second then.
Doug, you seconded it before. Do you want to keep it?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay. All in
So what are
favor?
we voting on now?
The motion is to postpone this issue until the regular July board meeting.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Business services. The 2018-19 budget amendment. We need a motion.
I move to approve the budget amendment to adjust the expenditure, appropriations, and revenue budget as presented, and to approve a resolution authorizing a transfer from the General Fund 1 to the Special Revenue Fund 2 in the amount necessary to eliminate a Special Revenue Fund or Teachers Fund deficit estimated at $2.9 million.
And this will be a roll call vote, please.
We have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Questions? It's just a yearly transfer. Every year just because of the way the money comes in, we run a deficit in the teachers fund. This is just to meet those expenditures.
I'm sure the teachers will appreciate getting
Yeah.
paid.
Well, they already get paid. That's We just have to make sure there's money in there to pay them.
I'm sure Kathy will appreciate the fact that we put the money in the right bucket.
All right. So we have a motion and a second.
Nancy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Bing?
Yes.
Okay, 2019-20 budget adoption. We need a motion.
I move to adopt the 2019-2020 budget as previously presented.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The HHS PAC dimmer lighting replacement. We need a motion.
Make the motion to award the contract for a PAC dimmer lighting rack and installation in the amount of $39,275 and the alternates totaling $3,668 for a total of $42,943 to Associated Theatrical Contractors.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a question. I read this 3 times. First of all, obviously there's no contest in the 2 bids. It's amazing how much difference there is. But can you explain, or can somebody explain, it's probably going to fall to you, Jason, the alternates? I never did fully grasp.
Yeah, the alternate. We put out the bid scope first, and then had the pre-bid, and through some of that conversation. Right now, the lighting in the PAC is all theatrical, so it's completely different than flipping a light switch here. It's all automated, house lights and everything. So right now, there's a box in the control booth.
Mm-hmm.
That if I want the house lights, if I'm going in there and people are painting or working, they have to go in there and hit a button, and a computer controls, and that controls this dimmer pack and turns on those house lights with some lights there. That's the only place to do that. And so coming in from the backside or on the stage, and those lights aren't on, there's not a way. I mean, you can turn on some work lights here and there to have, but you can't control that. So that's one of the other alt pieces. Was we added that other box, so we had one more backstage. A little bit of that's a safety concern if you're back there. And the other part is to wirelessly control. It's like a soundboard, there's dimmers and everything else up in that booth. My understanding is that other alternate bid with this new pack, they'll be able to wirelessly control lights. So somebody they don't have to be up in that booth. They could be backstage, and you could do everything from backstage. You could be someplace else. The extreme difference on those bids is that other bid took everything up 100 times and has touch screens and all kinds of fancy stuff.
Okay. Okay, that makes
And the
sense.
dimmer packs, my understanding, there's 3 that run all this, and 1 blew, I think, last year, and so then 2 are doing the work of 3. If another one goes, we won't have any lights in there. So that's why this kind of inched up as a high need, and there's a lot of electrical work that needs to go with that. In the past, a lot of people have done some things that weren't technical electricians potentially, and so as in the theater, and how to do this, they might know how to wire, and they're licensed electricians, but they don't deal with theater lighting, and it's just a completely different animal.
So will this be finished before the school year starts?
Yes, we'll get on it here pretty soon. When we did the pre-bid, we talked that we'd be approving it in June to hopefully have work in July. So the pack it's not hard to put it in. The electrical box is right there, so they just have to have their electrician come in and do that.
They warranty it for so long?
2 year.
Really?
Says 2-year warranty.
Great.
I'm sure the one that blew out was past the warranty.
Oh,
yeah.
When was the PAC built?
No.
I
I
remember.
thought it was 2000.
I remember watching it go up.
2003?
Like you,
No.
that feels like I'm a little bit older,
was-
so it was.
98.
Was it? I thought it was after. Okay, I don't know. We
Okay.
don't remember.
Late
Oh.
90s was first in mind,
A while
but
ago.
3 was in there, so I don't know. 93 is too early, I think.
Yeah, that's too early.
Okay, just that was curious. Okay,
I appreciate that. I
That's,
read that.
that's
thing
very
and went,
basic theater knowledge.
yeah. And you have a lot more theater knowledge than I do. So I know what I like.
all right. Are there any discussions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bids for fuel for 2019-20. We need a motion.
I'll propose or make a motion to accept the bid for the fuel products as specified to MFA Oil for the 2019-2020 school year based on the pricing provided.
Second?
They're the only ones that bid,
We have
right?
one bid. That's
Yep.
our choice. So we have to have fuel.
They're the only. Aren't they always the only one? Yeah.
We're outside everyone's delivery area, other than MFA.
Them and the milk. The only 2. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, SRO contract. We need a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the contract with the City of Harrisonville for school resource officers for the 2019-20 school year as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Just glad we have a contract.
Yeah,
It's always good.
they do a really good job. We're really happy with.
They're still going to have that extended time frame as well.
That's been a big benefit for us.
Who is the officer at the middle school?
Jessica.
Miller.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.